time to join with us today. I know we'll all head downstairs after this, but if I don't get a chance to say hello, Merry Christmas and Happy Holidays. Thank you for helping us inform the American people about the important work of the 115,000 members of the Department of Justice, what they do to make our country stronger and safer. As you've heard me say many times before, this president was elected as a law and order president. He was elected to make America safe again, and that mission has never been more important. In fact, he just this morning made that message very clear and reiterated it again to the FBI Academy there when he spoke to the graduation. Indeed, that was the first time a president has spoken to the graduating class of the FBI Academy in 47 years. So I met with the mothers and fathers of those daughters who were brutally slaughtered by MS-13. I've talked to pastors who fear the dramatic rise in violent crime that threatens their communities. I've heard from my state and local law enforcement officers who go to work every day knowing that they might not come home at night, like the two brave officers who responded to reports of gunshots that were shot in the chest yesterday in St. Louis. We are so thankful they were wearing bulletproof vests and survived. But it is another reminder of how dangerous these jobs are and how grateful Americans should be every single day to our law enforcement and their families. As Attorney General, I'm deeply committed to combating this surge in violent crime and supporting the work of our police officers. I've made it one of our top priorities, both in word and deed. Over the last 2 years, we've seen a deadly increase in violent crime. The overall violent crime rate is up by nearly 7%, reversal of a downward trend. Robberies are up, assaults are up, rape is up by nearly 11%, and murder is up by more than 20%. And by the way, I recently read one of our department-funded studies that found that larger increases in drug-related homicides than in any other type of homicide. So these related to drug dealers is the highest, and that expansions in illicit drug markets contributed to the overall homicide rate they found. According to the study, nearly a quarter of this increase in homicides is the result of an increase in drug-related homicides. There can be no question that drug trafficking is inherently a dangerous business. And as we all know, these are not just numbers. They are moms, dads, daughters, spouses, friends, and neighbors. These are empty places at Christmas dinner tables and holes in the hearts and souls of victims of families that will never be filled. I will not accept this as a status quo, neither will this department. We will not allow the progress made by our men and women in blue over the past 2 decades to simply slip through our fingers now and be eroded away. We will not cede a community, a block, or a street corner to violent thugs who peddle poison or to violent gangs who prey on even children. Today, we will make another important step in this fight. As we know, 85% of law enforcement is state, local, and tribal. To be effective, we must utilize these people, these partners, as a force multiplier. It is these authorities that have the critical street-level intelligence regarding the criminal element in their communities. We are most effective when these experienced state and local investigators are paired with the resources and expertise of the 15% that are our federal and law enforcement officers. Put simply, this combined task force model is what truly works to reduce violent crime, and that is precisely what we've established with our reinvigorated Project Safe Neighborhood program. This brings together federal, state, local, and tribal collaboration, targeting the violent offenders who commit a disproportionate amount of violent crime. led by our 94 United States Attorney's offices, Project Safe Neighborhoods task forces are hitting the streets across America to apprehend and bring violent criminals to justice. I've asked Congress for additional PSN funding next year because I believe nothing will be more effective. I am convinced it will reduce crime. Under this program, I'm asking a great deal of our United States attorneys. I am both empowering them and I'm holding them accountable for results, to put them in the best position to impact and reduce violent crime. It is my privilege today to announce, through a reallocation of resources, we will be enlisting and deploying 40 additional violent crime prosecutors across the United States. These prosecutors are being sent to hotbeds such as Central Islip, New York, where we will have 2 federal prosecutors focusing solely on violent crime there, and MS-13. And each of our Southwest border districts will receive additional prosecutors to focus on the cartels and the violence and the illegality that infects that region. By working hard to find these additional positions, despite budget reductions, we are allocating prosecutors in many more cities, including Oakland, California, St. Louis, Toledo, Memphis, Milwaukee, Las Vegas, Detroit, and many others. These additional assistant United States attorneys can make an immediate impact. I know, I have seen it firsthand. A committed AUSA can supervise often multiple investigations, which in turn can apprehend and dismantle multiple criminal organizations. That means fewer violent criminals on the streets and more concentration of resources on the bad actors who are left. This is how you reduce crime. It also takes good intelligence to identify who and what gangs are the biggest threats to the neighborhood. My expectations for these new AUSAs could not be higher, but I know this is an investment that will pay dividends for years to come, and one that will make a readily discernible impact in these communities struggling with violence. I personally work to repurpose existing funds to support this mission. We have a saying around here that a new federal prosecutor, the definition of it is a coin of the realm. That means that when we can eliminate wasteful spending, one of my first questions to my budget staff is whether or not this would allow us to employ one more AUSA to a violence-plagued district. Through these efforts, we now have 40 slots, but this is just the beginning of our push to increase the tooth-to-tail ratio at this department to drive down violent crime. We plan to push out an additional 260 AUSAs in the months to come. I'm also announcing today 2 new violent crime task forces that will focus on the areas most in need in North Carolina and in Pennsylvania, 2 areas where violent crime far exceeds the national average. In many of the counties surrounding Pittsburgh, they suffer from more violent crime than in Philadelphia. So, to the communities that are suffering, hear this. Help is on the way. We are marshaling our resources and will be relentless in our pursuit of violent criminals that are victimizing your neighborhoods. I am also announcing that I will be traveling to Milwaukee, Toledo, and Charlotte on Monday and Tuesday to personally observe the crime problem and to deliver the good news that additional help is on the way. This will mark my 32nd United States Attorney's Office visit this year. At every one of these stops, I've met some fabulous and dedicated AUSAs and federal investigators and state local officials. I know I will see firsthand on this trip the impact our prosecutors are having, and more importantly, I will reaffirm the Department's unequivocal support for the work done by law enforcement and prosecutors. Our federal team AUSAs, FBI, DEA, ATF, U.S. Marshals, and the Bureau of Prisons are outstanding, and I'm honored beyond words to lead them. Finally, during this Christmas season and in the holiday spirit, I want to personally express my deep appreciation and profound thanks to all the women and men of law enforcement, state and local, and their families for sacrificing so much and putting their lives at risk every day, holiday or not, so that the rest of us can enjoy the safety and security they provide. We love you. We honor your work. Know this, we have your back. You have our thanks. So Merry Christmas and Happy Holidays to all. I'm pleased to have with me Jessie Liu. She has almost 10 years in the Department of Justice. She has been confirmed now and serving as the United States Attorney here in the District of Columbia. She had 4 years as a practicing federal AUSA in the District of Columbia. She had 5 or 6 years in the Department of Justice at Civil Rights and in National Security Division, I believe. She is an outstanding addition to our team. And Jessie, we're glad you could be with us. And would you share thoughts with us?
Good afternoon, everyone. Thank you so much, Mr. Attorney General, and thank you. Thank you for your leadership on this critically important issue. I have no doubt that these additional resources will be put to good use right away, if not sooner, and will help make communities across the country safer. As U.S. Attorney for the District of Columbia, my highest priority is protecting the people of this great city from threats here and abroad. We're a unique office, and not only because of our location right here in the nation's capital. Our office prosecutes both federal and local offenses, from assault to robbery to homicide to international terrorism. It's a huge responsibility, but thankfully we have many partners. We work day and night with the FBI, the ATF, DEA, and a host of other federal agencies, as well as with the men and women of the Metropolitan Police Department, some of our best and closest partners. We are in the community every day, and we know that people all across the city are behind our efforts. And we draw support from the Attorney General here at Main Justice. That's why we were so excited to see the emphasis you're placing on Project Safe Neighborhoods and the task force approach to getting dangerous offenders and their guns and drugs off our streets. We're very busy right now building on our longstanding relationships with law enforcement and the community at large to identify and address those areas in the District of Columbia that are too often terrorized with gunshots and the injuries and death that follow. Much of this violence is related to drugs and neighborhood disputes. By going after the organizations and individuals behind that conduct, we can make our neighborhoods safer. And we're doing just that. Only last week, we joined with a task force to arrest and charge 12 people accused of distributing drugs in our city. Those arrests led to the recovery not only to large amounts of crack cocaine and methamphetamines, but to 7 guns as well. As you know, bringing these cases is very labor-intensive, especially when we must continue to fully prosecute all of the other offenses for which we have responsibility. Even one additional AUSA can make a tremendous difference. The extra resources that are being announced today will help enormously and will show those on the front lines here and elsewhere that fighting crime, that we share their commitment. So we're very grateful for this support, and we look forward to getting our reinforcements to work. Thank you all for being here. Merry Christmas and Happy Holidays.
Thank you.
All right, we'll take a few questions. Pierre?
General Sessions, can you give us a sense of how the 2017 numbers are faring compared to the spikes that we saw in recent years? And then the FBI has been in the news of late in terms of allegations of bias. What is your assessment? And do you share the assessment of the president that the reputation of the Bureau is in tatters?
What was the first question again?
First question.
Three in there.
First question had to do with how does 2017 numbers, how do they look in terms of violent crime?
I don't have those numbers yet. We did a crime survey, but they altered the questions, and it's hard to compare increases to decreases based on this survey. So it usually takes some months before we get the 2017 numbers. We're still less than half United States attorneys confirmed. We're still altering our strategy that's just now going into effect. But I do believe that the Project Safe Neighborhoods, if sustained, is somewhat akin to the New York City proven CompStat model, where you use good intelligence, you identify what the commissioner told me, the alpha criminal, and you make sure those are top priorities in your investigations and prosecutions. And you can see, hopefully for America, what they've seen in New York is a steady decline in homicides and violent crime. So I believe that's a proven technique. Our policies would call on each United States attorney to encourage that in their district. Jessie maybe would like to comment on that because she has been traveling her neighborhoods in the city and talking to large numbers of people in that regard. I believe the FBI is doing a great job around the country. They are partnering with state and local law enforcement, our DEA, our ATF agents, and we're reaching a higher level of unity and sophistication, I think, than we ever have.
Jesse, do you want to comment on that at all?
Just a few words. As I think many of you know, my office has a very long tradition of engagement with the community. And since I started this job a few months ago, I spent a lot of time going to community meetings and listening to the community. And I think, overall, the message I've been given is that people want their neighborhoods to be safe. And for the people who are out in the communities, even one violent crime is one violent crime too many. And so that's what we're taking as our guiding star.
Just to follow, just to make sure.
Here, we have time for Sophie.
He didn't answer the
Wait,
question.
he didn't answer
He
the
didn't
last
answer
two
the question.
questions.
He did, actually. He did. Jake?
About the FBI.
Yes, he did.
No, he did.
Jake?
What do you have to say about Trump legal team calling for another special counsel? This one specifically about Bruce Orr, an official here, and his meetings with Fusion GPS, and his wife having worked with Fusion GPS. And would you consider such a special counsel?
Well, our responsibility, and it's clear, is to provide the highest possible professional standards of law enforcement that we can provide to the American people, and that we do so in an effective way, and we do so honorably and with integrity. So we're going to take seriously the concerns that have been expressed. I just would say to you, Deputy Rosenstein has testified before the Congress again just yesterday, and we want to be open with them. We've made available to Congress just sensitive information regarding the Fusion Center questions. We've quickly made a confidential informant available to them to speak to them regarding uranium-1, that there was a controversy over that. We recently provided Congress with text messages between an FBI agent and an FBI lawyer working on the investigation into the 2016 presidential election and the Clinton email server. And we're going to do more as much as we can. We will not be reluctant to admit error. We will not hide and be excessively defensive. We will never fail to monitor our people, and we're going to insist on the highest standards of behavior. Even the church treasurer is not protected from review. Everybody has to be accountable and responsible. You can have arrogance seep into sometimes an institution, and that's not acceptable. So we want to be open to the public, and we're going to go as far as we can to do that. There are limits in that regard. We're not able to just reveal everything in every criminal case that may be percolating here, nor in every potential personnel matter. We've got active and strong activity being carried out this very moment by our Inspector General. We also have the professional standards standard group that watches and monitors our highest possible standards of behavior by our people. So we take that very seriously, and I would just say we intend to monitor our people to maintain high standards. But I got to tell you, sometimes things that might appear to be bad in the press have more innocent explanations, and so fairness and justice is also should also be provided to our personnel.
So, Mr.
All right,
under
last
review.
question. Kevin?
Yeah, just to follow up on Pierre's question, the FBI is an important partner in this violent crime fight, but President Trump has pretty clearly suggested that the reputation and the status of the FBI is in tatters. Do you share that view?
Well, I don't share the view that the FBI is not functioning at a high level all over the country. He spoke to them today, the first time a president in 47 years has spoken to the FBI at Quantico, their graduating police academy class. He made clear that he supports them 100% in their activities, and that we are going to be a law enforcement administration that helps the law enforcement be successful. So I would just say it that way, and in my view, that FBI has huge national security requirements, but it's also fulfilling a fabulously important role of working to help fight against violent crime also.
All right, thank you guys. We'll see you downstairs.
All right. We hope to have you come visit our celebration. Thank you all. Happy holidays and Merry Christmas.